Tender spot in my heart, cripples, bastards, and broken things.
Hello and welcome to our second content video, and happy Valentine's Day. So in honor of St. Valentine's Day, we decided to drop a special couples content video. So in this video, I'm basically going to be going over the pros and cons of different couples that we could potentially be seeing in Season 8 of Game of Thrones, the TV series. Now, all of these are solely based on the TV series and what we will see in the show, so not the books. That's mainly because we still have to read the books. So I am Queen of Maine, and I'm going to start with our first couple, which is, of course, the couple that we ended Season 7 with, which is Dany and Jon. So some of the three major pros would be that, A, they're a power couple. I mean, they're both from Targaryen blood. You've got Jon, who's got the Rally of the North, and you've got Dany, who's the breaker of chains, the, Khaleesi. It goes unsaid. They're two natural born leaders. Again, that ties into the same concept. And lastly, they're both hot. I mean, come on. So, to tie in to that, Pedro, said they're both Targaryen, which is definitely a pro. I mean, it's definitely going to keep the Targaryen bloodline going. Given, of course, that Dany will have a baby in Season 8, which is what we all want. So then we wanted to think about some of the cons. So one of the biggest ones is obviously they're related. The other would also be that there could be a power struggle. For example, who has the right to sit on the Iron Throne? So Pedro's idea for a con for that was their upbringing. So, for example, there's the Stark upbringing, which is, noble. I mean, yeah, you can argue that Rhaegar was also noble, but the Targaryen upbringing was different than the Stark upbringing. But Pedro's main point was that Jon acts a lot like Rhaegar, even though he doesn't know that he was, or is, a Targaryen. Jon still acts like Rhaegar. So that's kind of what we came up with, pros and cons for Jon and Dany. Of course, we all loved it. Most of us, I can say. I can't say we all. I mean, the three of us in our channel, we loved it. We still love it. We talk about it on a daily basis. Let us know in the comment section what you think, if you have any additional pros and cons for Dany and Jon. So moving on, we have, of course, Cersei and Euron. So we haven't exactly gotten to see them as quite of a couple, so to speak, as of yet. But it is quite possible that we may see a little bit more of that in Season 8. So some of the pros. Now, I came up with, they're a force to be reckoned with. They're ruthless. The two of them are both very vicious people. The two of them together is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So Pedro's pro is they're psychos who would feed off of each other. Now, some of the cons would be, first of all, the main thing is lots of death. Lots and lots of death. A lot of vengeance being taken place, because that, first of all, Euron's more so like just conquer the world, like just take what he can. He's essentially a pirate, a medieval pirate, who pillages and rapes and plunders, and but also we'll look at the fact of Euron could kill Cersei, so he could sit on the Iron Throne, or Cersei could potentially have Euron killed because she's done with him. That's another con. So again, down in the comments section below, just put any pros or cons that you think for Cersei or Euron that we may have left out. But I think that pretty much settles off that aspect. So next, let's go into something more so. This one's going to be a little less pro and con, because we pretty much seen as much of it as I think we'll see. Missandei and Greyworm. Some of the pros with their relationship is, first of all, they can vacation whenever they want. No babysitter. Ain't no babies coming from that. Jay, faceless Jay, said no contraceptives. And they also, the other thing that we added was obviously that they came from similar situations. And they both basically came from the bottom and rose to the level of, you know, not necessarily hand to the queen, but they're secondly, like, they're right-hand men, essentially, to Dany. You know, they're powerful in their roles currently. So that's something that they have in common, which could help them build their relationship. So that was Faceless Jay's pro. The cons of their relationship. Well, the big one is no babies. They're not going to be able to procreate and have children unless, of course, Missandei seeks that from somebody else and they just raise it as Greyworm's baby. So Pedro's con was the pillar is empty. There's no bullets in the chamber. And also that Missandei could bore him to death with her like 19 languages. So let us know what you think about Missandei and Greyworm. If there's any pros and cons we may have missed. I thought that one was kind of fun because, I mean, like I said, it's something that we've pretty much seen in the series, and we've seen as much of it as I think we're going to, but that one was really fun to kind of mess around with. We had a good time with that. So next we're going to go into one that's, I want to say I don't personally see it, and I don't want to see it. I just don't. So Pedro started it off with a pro. They'd be a powerful couple. So I kind of fed into that and basically said, you know, the Hound's a protector. He's become a new man, and Sansa's become a true lady. You know, Sansa never viewed the Hound as everyone else did because she was a little taken aback by the Hound, but that could be a pro, is what Jay said to feed into that, which I thought was kind of interesting because he said the fact that she never treated him differently essentially made her look at him in a different way than everyone else, which could benefit a relationship in the sense of, you know, she's comfortable with him and he's, you know, comfortable with her and happy with the fact that, you know, she's accepting of him. So then the next part, it would be, of course, the cons. So Pedro starts it off with ugly-ass babies. He doesn't think that they would be able to produce very attractive spawns, put it that way. So the other part, so Jay had to say for a con, would be that the Hound has found a purpose beyond being with someone. He's found that there's a larger picture that he can see, you know, that he has a duty to fulfill, that sort of thing. So no time for relationships. She's become like, so my kind of feed-in point for a con was that she's become so much like Cersei that Sandor couldn't imagine a relationship with her. And to which Jay kind of fed in that the Hound still sees Sansa as a young girl, which could be a con. You know, seeing her in such a light would make it hard for him to see her in a manner of a relationship aspect. So again, let us know what you think, pros, cons, with Sansa and the Hound. Let us know down below in the comments section. So moving on. Next we have Brienne and Jaime. So of course the very first pro is it's fandom. We want it. That's what we want to see. We want to see them together. There's this unspeakable connection that the two of them have on screen. They both have this untold love for each other. They both know they have feelings, but neither of them have really kind of touched upon that. So Jay kind of fed in for a pro with that, is that not only do they have an untold love for each other, but as well as a mutual warrior's respect. So Pedro fed in and said that they trust each other on the level that they're honorable. So cons. We couldn't come up with any cons. So down in the comments section below, if you can think of any cons of Brienne and Jaime being together. Now, mind you, initially my first thought for cons would be their children. You know, what their children would look like. I mean, Brienne's a big woman. Mind you, Jaime is a very attractive man. Gwendolyn Christie, which was brought to my attention, obviously, by seeing her, but of course, Jay had reminded me, you know, when you see her on the red carpet and such, she's really, really beautiful. You know what I mean? Based off of her character description in the book is totally different, but how she's portrayed, you know, on the screen, yeah, she's kind of got that brutish look to her, but at the same time, you know, she's really not that unattractive. So they could potentially have decent looking children. But again, just let us know down below if you've got any cons that you could come up with Brienne and Jaime. So, moving into the next couple, we have Sansa and Gendry. I don't like this idea. My first, I so want to jump right into the cons. I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to start with the pros. So, of course, the first pro, coming from Faceless J, that they're a political couple. And I fed into that and said, the stag and the wolf, you know? It's kind of like history repeating itself in that sense. Or how Robert initially wanted it to be with Lyanna. You know what I mean? He wanted to be married to one of the Starks. You know, so kind of the same thing how they tied into the cave scene in Season 7 with Gendry and Jon. Pedro fed in with the pro of Gendry would do whatever Sansa says. Which I kind of added, he's easily manipulated, right? To which Jay said, kind of like Robert to Cersei. Robert didn't deal too much with the politics. He left that to Cersei. And it's kind of a similar idea of that could be potentially what would happen with Sansa and Gendry being in a relationship. So now let's get into the cons, because I'm dying to get into the cons of this. I do not like the idea of Sansa and Gendry together. Here's my number one reason. Arya would be pissed. I'm sorry, but looking at it from a girl's perspective, if my sister was with the guy that I almost had a thing with, but he was taken away from me by the grace of the Lord of the Light, you know, not the grace, but by by Melisandre, I would be pissed. I mean, finally, I see him again, I'm with him again, and now he's with my sister. No, that's my biggest con with Sansa and Gendry is the Arya situation, because I would just love to see them together. So, to feed into kind of how we had in the pros, another con could be that Gendry, is easily manipulated. So, again, he could be taken advantage of in that aspect, similar to Cersei and Robert. So Jay fed in with that their marriage would be of convenience, not of true love, which could also tie into my whole thing with the idea of Arya being upset. So let us know down below in the comment section pros and cons for Sansa and Gendry. And on that note of Arya and Gendry, let's move on into that idea. Who would love to see Arya and Gendry? So let's start with the pros. Of course, it's fandom. Everyone wants it. So to which Faceless J tied in for his pro for this couple. They've got a natural chemistry. And I'm going to kind of feed in on that too. Like, if you recall the scene that they had, you know, when they were basically on the run, and the soldiers from King's Landing came looking for Gendry, you know, there was a point where he had found out that Arya was a lady, you know, one of the Starks, and he made it a point to tell her that he would make her his lady. And in that moment, it sparked the idea of them being together. Mind you, Arya's never been a lady. That's never been her endgame. But, I mean, that's just, it's foreshadowing in my opinion. Game of Thrones loves to do that shit. How cool would it be to see them together? Whether they stay in one place, which, you know, let's just move on into the cons, because that kind of touches base on this. So, the cons of Arya and Gendry. Arya is a single mindset on a killing spree, Pedro says. He also said, I don't see Arya with anyone or being a lady or sitting in a castle. To which I'll feed in on, Arya has always been the, you know, the opposite of what everyone else wants her to be. So for example, you know, in the very beginning, the very first episode of Game of Thrones, we see Arya basically fighting the fact that she's supposed to be sewing in sewing class, or whatever you want to call it back in those times. she's never ever really been the type to have that, I don't want to say womanliness to her, to want to settle down, have a family, have kids. You know, this is basically what I'm getting at. That's not what she's always envisioned. She's always wanted to be like the boys, you know, not like the boys, but like Nymeria, the warrior. She wanted to do great things and be a female warrior, you know, and she wants to travel west of Westeros to lands that have been unexplored. I think that, if anything, given the scenario, a possible pro could be that the two of them could end up together, but traveling together, not staying in one place. So that could also be the con, though, because, again, Arya is a traveler. She doesn't want to stay in one place, whereas Gendry, I feel like, you know, would want to rule, would want to, you know, reclaim himself as a Baratheon, a true Baratheon. So let us know what you think in the comment section below. Aria and Gendry. I know most all of us fans want to see it. What are your thoughts on the good and the bad? So moving on, we next have the idea of Brienne and the Hound. So of course, that's another situation that's kind of come up recently. After seeing them together in that scene in season 7 and them having that moment of mutual honor and respect, it kind of also intrigued some of us fans, you know, in the Game of Thrones universe on YouTube and the internet. I've seen it in multiple locations, but mainly from one of our fellow friends that we talk with in video chats and such, Amber Lynn Marie, Lady Amber Lynn. And she actually brought this to our attention, so we thought we would honor her in putting it in the video. So some of the pros, both of them share the respect and honor towards the Stark children. So, for example, Brienne was sworn to Catelyn Stark to watch over the Stark children. So it's kind of her duty, her honor, that's what she's sworn to. The Hound wasn't sworn to that, but he took it upon himself when he saved Sansa from being raped, but also when he took Arya into his care and, you know, tried to get her back to Catelyn. You know what I mean? So both of them have that honor towards the Stark children in one way or another. Also, of course, is fandom. A lot of us would love to see that. It'd be an interesting pairing. The both of them are warriors. The both of them are big. Both of them are brutes. So another part, you know, that Jay fed in was that they fought each other in a duel to the death, basically where Brienne thought she killed the Hound, and they shared a respect. Mutual respect makes a great basis for a relationship. And then Pedro fed in with, I could see the Hound in Jon's Kingsguard, which would be pretty cool. So now let's get into the cons of Brienne and the Hound. Brienne is a lady, is she not? She's a Tarth. The Hound is based off his brother's legacy, is from a disreputable house. They're pretty much mercenaries for the Lannisters. And that was Faceless Jay's con for the situation. The con I could think of for this particular couple would just be the fact that the two of them may still have some sort of vengeance toward one another. For example, I mean, the Hound is tough. Not many people have come across the Hound and survived to tell about it. And the fact that he was beat by a woman, nonetheless, and left to die, like, I mean, I don't know if he could come past that. I mean, yeah, he's become a changed man, but I don't know. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Pros and cons for Brienne and the Hound. So moving on to Aria and No One. So this kind of feeds into a little bit of what I was going into with Aria and Gendry. So the pros, she's a loner. She's always wanted to travel west of Westeros. You know, so it would be befitting of her to be by herself in the end. Some of the cons. So Faceless Jay started us off with, she's not traveling all that way with Gendry. Of course, that would be one of the biggest cons. It would be amazing to see them together. which I tied in with No Nymeria. You know, I would love to see Arya with Nymeria, even if she's not with, you know, Gendry. Just having her and Nymeria ending up together in the end. That would be amazing. To which Faceless J ended for the cons for Arya being by herself, is that she's a fighter, not a ruler. She's never been the type to be a lady. So let us know what you think down below. The likeliness that we will see Arya with no one, and not meaning the faceless men, meaning by herself, you know, doing whatever it is that she's doing to survive, but by herself. No Nymeria, no faceless men, no Gendry. So let's move on down to the next couple. We have the Sand Snake and Bronn. And I'm referring to her as the Sand Snake because I don't want to butcher her name. I already know I'm going to get some slack in the comments section about my pronunciations of some of the people on this list. So I do apologize. I'm from Maine. We fuck shit up. We put R's in words where they don't belong, and we've removed them from words they do belong. So, again, I apologize. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. It's just how I do. Anyway, so the Sand Snake and Bronn. So the Sand Snake I'm referring to is the daughter who was poisoned by Cersei in Season 7. Now, let me start, because I know, again, people are going to blow up and say, you know, she died, she was poisoned. This is where I start with the first pro. First pro being that Bronn gets his girl, because she doesn't die. And the reason why I say that is because we did not see her die on screen. The Sand Snakes could have built up a tolerance to the the long farewell poisoning. It is quite possible that she could survive. It's quite likely that she won't, but it is a possible scenario. And also think of it this way, it's Game of Thrones. Weird shit happens all the time that a lot of people don't expect or think is ridiculous. It's just how things happen. So, tying into that, Pedro said sand snakes are used to that poison, of course, as I just mentioned. And then Jay also said it's the long farewell. So there's time to be had, time that Bronn could have to rescue her, to find a way to get her to an area where she may have some antidote for the poison, as the sand snakes did because they poisoned Bronn to begin with. So let's move into the cons of the Sand Snake and Bronn. First con is being that Bronn doesn't get to her in time, that he gets to her too late. The second con would be that he wouldn't get a castle. He wants a castle. So that could be a con. So Jay fed in with Bronn becomes the king of Dorne. How would that end up? To which Pedro responded, Bronn takes the Iron Throne. Jay said, that's not a con. He'll open a brothel in the Iron Keep. So again, we had some fun with that one too. Let us know what you think. Feed into that if you want. Add some jokes. It's all good. Pros and cons of the Sand Snake and Bronn. Again, not trying to mention her name because I don't want to butcher it as I have done in previous names in this video, I'm sure. So next we have one I didn't even want to put on the list. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. But because this is a YouTube channel for all three of us, and we're a family, and we sacrifice for each other, I sacrificed, and I put it on the list. Robin Arryn and Sansa. Oh, it makes my skin crawl to even talk about it. So, let's go into the pros, I guess. We'll start with Faceless J. He said it would be politically great. To which Pedro said, the North and the Vale. That would be great. Then Jay responded with Robin and Sansa at the Vale and Aria and Gendry at Winterfell, Jon and Dany at King's Landing. To which he then responded, Sand Snake and Bronn in Dorne. So cons. I'll start that off with ew. Just ew. Sansa already despises him. To which Jay responded, what if he came back after his training and he's more handsome? To which I respond with, no. Just no. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. pros and cons of Robin, Aaron, and Sansa. Again, I am just, I'm so grossed out at the thought of that. Anyway, moving on. We're getting down to our last few couples here. We've got about 4 more couples. So let's kick this off. We've got one of the biggest ones that a lot of us fans have been waiting for, that would love to just see happen because it is so comical. Brienne and Tormund. So the biggest pro is, of course, fandom, as I just mentioned. So many of us love the hilarity that it brings, seeing the scenes of Tormund obsessing over Brienne. It's just hilarious, and her disgust is even better. So, Pedro fed in with the pro of that they fit well together. They're both big. To which Jay fed in and said, Tormund has lusted over Brienne ever since the moment that he saw her. Love at first sight. So let's get into the cons. To which Pedro said, there is no cons, man, unless Jaime's still alive. And Jay said, Brienne's still in love with Jaime. And then my response is, Brienne's disgusted with Tormund. However, it's hilarious. Let us know what you think below in the comments section. Pros and cons of Brienne and Tormund, or anything funny you want to add, because this is just all in good fun. Again, it is a Valentine's Day special content video for you all to enjoy. So, getting down to couple number 3. This is one that, again, I don't think we'll see, but it's interesting to talk about. It is a possibility. That's why it's on the list. And that is Sansa and Tyrion. So some pros of that is that they would be a power couple. Political power like crazy, Faceless Jay says. So Tyrion has always been kind to Sansa, is kind of what I fed into. So even when there was the forced marriage, he never treated her like the other Lannisters did. Now, mind you, Tyrion is different than the other Lannisters, not purely just on looks and size, but based on his character, he's different. So let's move into the cons. So the first con I started with, and that's that Sansa has become too much like Cersei, that Tyrion wouldn't be able to see her in a romantic way. So then to add something funny, as I said, the height difference is too much to overcome. So that's when Jay fed in and he said, you know, in the canon of the show, we see Tyrion lurking outside of the boat sex chamber, as he calls it. He still has unresolved feelings towards Dany. So let us know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think that it would be possible for Sansa and Tyrion to end up together? Pros and cons, why or why not? You know, just put the comments down below. Let us know what you think. So down to the final 2 couples. So we're going to start with number 2, and that would be Aria and Nymeria. And no, sickos, we're not talking about bestiality. We're talking about just the fact that they would end up together in the end of the series. We could only come up with a pro for it. No cons. And of course, the only pro that we came up with is they belong together. Why wouldn't they? Let us know what you think down below for Aria and Nymeria. How many of you want to see it? You know, any pros, any cons, what you can think of. So moving on, we've got our last and final couple to end our special Valentine's Day content video. And that couple is, drum roll please, Ghost and Nymeria. Come on, guys. Did you see that one coming? I doubt you did. But how awesome would it be to see Ghost and Nymeria ending up at the end of the whole thing together? So let's go into the pros. First pro being from Pedro, Peter the Noble. Puppies in Winterfell! To which Jay responded, the 2 remaining direwolves, 1 male, 1 female, which also represent the Stark sigil, can reproduce and carry on the direwolf, you know, species, as well as the representation of the Stark sigil. So the only con that we could come up with was kind of questionable, and it was Jay, Faceless Jay, that came up with this con. And the con would be that he's not quite sure if a runt would be able to produce more direwolves, like if it's just not a capability that runts have. We don't know the biology of whether or not that's possible, but let's just pretend it isn't, because I don't think there are any cons of Ghost and Nymeria ending up together, other than the fact that they're brother and sister. But come on now, dogs, cats, animals do that stuff all the time. It's more unheard of with people. I'm not saying that it's like a great thing to think about, but still. So, in conclusion, we hope you enjoyed our special surprise Valentine's Day content video. Again, please fill up the comments down below with the pros and cons for the couples that I mentioned in our video. Feel free to slap a like on this video and also hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can catch when we drop more videos. Occasionally we will try to come in and do a live video. We're kind of night owls. We usually do it late. If we do it, it's on a weekend night, Saturday or Sunday. And it's usually sometimes around 11:30, 12 a.m. Eastern Time, so 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But usually we will go on our Facebook page and we will notify everyone before we go do a live video. You can find the link for that in the description for this video down below. Also, you will find links to our Twitter pages, Facebook pages, and just share the crap out of this video. I hope you enjoyed. Just spread the love and spread the Game of Thrones love. Hopefully we'll be dropping some more videos in the near future. This is the Queen of Maine from the Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things channel, and we hope you enjoyed our video.